Hello, and I hope you're doing well today. I'm Eric Nakame. I'm a self published author of the book The Man in the Middle, a collection of essays by a red, white, and blue American. This is the book that kind of gave me the idea of creating a debate exercise. What I've seen, and I talk a little bit about this in the introduction here on Classful, is that we're very good as Americans in passionately arguing our sides of an argument or issues, but we're not so good, right, about listening to others' opinions. We're very much clustered into our own areas, whether that be along geographical lines, racial lines, religious, sexual orientation, or a myriad of other issues or characteristics that seem to be dividing us too much these days. My goal in my writing and through this really a basic but I think important debate exercise is to try to instill that American belief that we used to hear so often, at least when I was a kid as a Generation Xer, of I disagree with you, but I'll fight for your right to have your opinion. And we've lost that. So I've created a debate exercise here and I've said I'm kind of focused on the higher grades, the junior and seniors in high school, community colleges, four-year schools, undergraduate programs, as well as any civic organizations who are interested in reducing the divisiveness in our nation and helping all of us to remember that we're all united under one American flag. So I've created this exercise, and what I'd like to do here, the PDF document that is attached here through the Classful platform is really gives a guide for any instructor or teacher or debate organizer to use as a reference point. But of course, every situation is different depending on the age of the participants and the number of participants. So I've meant this just to be a general guide. A little bit about myself. I have an undergraduate degree in political science, a graduate degree in public administration. I've worked 3 decades in North Carolina local government. So while I'm not a teacher by trade, I do feel that I'm somewhat knowledgeable to discuss the issue and to provide some information and insight. And I say one of the biggest qualifications I have is that I'm a citizen of the United States who is concerned, again, about just the state of divisiveness that we seem to be in currently at the moment in the nation. And so my goal is to be part, however small, be part of that effort to reduce the divisiveness, reduce the heated argument, and kind of try to diffuse a situation that has too often led to violence simply because we disagree with another American about our political opinions. And we've seen too many violent acts being taken in our nation lately, and we all need to do our part to really recreate an America where we can all get along. We can get back there. So the first step in the process is to, of course, decide the issue that we'd like to debate. Now, I suggest, and this is just a suggestion, it can be any issue, but there are a number of issues that I discuss in my book here. Yes, shameless plug, but such as COVID-19, the Biden versus Trump policies, abortion, reparations, driving safety, racial tensions, immigration, among others that I have discussed in my book. And just a note, my book is is on sale on many platforms. I'm always running a sale. The paperback copy is $24.76, and that 1776 theme that I as a patriotic American, my one of my favorite dates in history, July 4th, 1776, Declaration of Independence, of course. But the paperback, you can pick that up through Amazon, and actually I think Walmart has it on their website as well. And then the ebook, all through the holidays, it's $2.76, and the major platforms like Kindle, Barnes and Nobles, Apple Books, you're able to find that if you're so inclined. If not, the goal is to identify the first step, identify an issue that you'd like your participants to debate. The next step, of course, is to let folks know, what the issue is, the participants, and give them time, and perhaps a few days before the debate exercise, let them know what the issue is, and give them the opportunity to select a side. And what I say here is that participants, because we want an equal amount, as equal as we can get amount of people on both sides, so that we don't have one large group kind of overwhelming a smaller group. So we really want equal sides, and so participants can be informed ahead of time that they may be on a different team or different side of the issue than they feel that they want to be on, than the side that they feel most impassioned to support. So on the day of the exercise, if it hasn't been done before, you want to divide up the teams. And so the next step, of course, is the debate process. And I put a few suggestions here in the PDF about how long this should take. And generally, I'm saying about an hour for the debate exercise. And this depends on how many people, on the class structure that the organizer has, or the goal of the teacher. So just keep that in mind. The times I have here are just suggestions, but my suggestion is that each side has a turn, and you go through certain rounds, and you can be timed. You could say have a 10 minutes for each side and go through that, or 5 minutes for each side, maybe more. That's more appropriate, and go through that session 5 times, so each side gets 25 minutes. That gets you close to an hour, or you could do it a little longer, a little shorter. But I think you want to give that time so that people can debate. And the important key in here that I talk about is we want to encourage, and I don't want to say require, but we're encouraging participants to actively listen to the opinions expressed by those on the opposing side. That's something that we've really lost, that we're so busy thinking about what we want to say, or how we sound on social media, or in any other type of format where it's so easy these days to voice our opinion and what we want to say, that we don't really actively listen and listen respectfully to opposing sides of an argument. And the next step I have on here is basically, after the debate exercise, I think it's important that each person identifies a good point that anyone from the other side of the argument has made. Because part of my opinion is that most of the time, unless it's some type of very vile racist or homophobic or something along a hate group line of thinking, most of the time the opposing side usually has some good points, right? I mean, I really feel like we have to get away from this seeing things very black and white. Things are complicated, and there are different facets and different opinions and different viewpoints, different perspectives that we need to take into account. And too often in our clusters, again, we don't or we refuse to. So I think it's important to identify good points made by the opposing side. And that should, probably take for most groups, doesn't have to take long, but 30 minutes or so, but to give that time so that you can go through that part of the exercise. And the next step is, and we've seen this kind of when we get the teacher or instructor will use a whiteboard or another type of way to jot down the solutions to an issue. Brainstorming. Thank you. Brainstorming is the term I was thinking of. You want to have a little brainstorming solution session where we want to come up with solutions or ways to address an issue. And in this type of brainstorming exercise, the focus isn't to solve the issue but to focus on compromising, coming to the beginnings of a solution where we incorporate desires of both sides of the argument. So if you can think of a policy such as, let's think of gun control. So, one side may say we shouldn't have any background checks, and the other side saying that we shouldn't have, no one who's a civilian should have any firearms in their house. So the idea is to come to that moderate middle where we have reasonableness, where the Second Amendment is protected, but most of us or a lot of us agree there should be limits as far as not allowing potentially dangerous or dangerous individuals to have those. So we have, the idea is to have some form of background checks or some form of training for those who have firearms. So along that line of thinking, and we may not in this exercise in a few hours come to a solution, but we want to talk about different ways to come to a compromise. And the instructor will be really instrumental in this phase to kind of group together. If someone says, well, we should have a 30-day waiting period, and if it seems unreasonable, well, then the other side says no waiting period, the instructor or facilitator can try to work out a compromise. This is a step that often we seem to be lacking today, and I kind of point to the recent government shutdown that last night, this is November 13th, 2025, last night that was just, they just figured it out and finally the shutdown ended. To me, that's a failure on both sides, that they had a shutdown for the longest shutdown in history, and we had people's SNAP benefits being endangered, and right now some people haven't been getting them timely. So we have people really in need of being able to have the resource to feed their families. Along with that, I think there is a need to have the federal government funded so federal workers can be paid. We can make sure that anyone flying, that passengers and people working on the airplanes, that they are all safe. So I felt that there was just a lack of cooperation between both political parties. Regardless of what side politically I take, that's a good example of our leaders not compromising, not wanting to talk to one another. And that is just a representation of what we have now. So this is a good, important step, that compromise that we want to do. We want to have learn to compromise on issues. And I know there are some issues that's tough. Abortion is one of those issues. But still, we have to kind of see both sides and try to come to a solution that is not going to be that no one's going to be happy completely with the outcome, but that we can try to have some kind of dialogue and come to some reasonableness. And so that's why I'm stressing that step here to go through those motions of talking about solutions. And so a few more steps here. We want to give the participants, and this is just voluntary, whoever wants to talk is my suggestion about this, is how did the exercise change how they viewed others who disagree with them, you know? And did they change their thinking somewhat on the issue? Was there something, an opinion that someone arguing on the other side of the issue, was there an idea that someone on the other side that was voiced that may have changed someone's mind, even slightly? And even slightly, that's making progress to being open to what others are saying, to their perspective. We all have a different perspective based on so many factors: our upbringing, where we live, what our religion is, what our politics are. But if we can talk to one another and listen to one another, that's real progress as far as us uniting as one people. And so the last step is, and I'll just read this, excuse me, but this is in the PDF. But as the exercise closes, this very brief step asks the instructor, activity coordinator, or the teacher to emphasize the theme that a free society requires a commitment by all citizens to protect the right of others to express themselves. The instructor or teacher can provide the following statement and pose the following question to participants as well as to any activity observers. The protection of free speech and peaceful expression is a basic requirement of establishing a free society. I'm sure we can all agree on this point. Given this reality, how likely are you to commit to protecting the right of others to speak their minds even if they disagree with you? And no need to respond, but just something to ponder on when you later take some time to review this exercise and what you brought away from it. So I really think that's a really good, solid last step, a concluding step in the exercise here, that we want this commitment to protect the right of each other. That's how we remain a free society, is that we're not going to agree on everything. But the divisiveness has to be taken down, and it's up to us, the American people, because in my opinion, our leaders are doing a lousy job of it. Sorry for the opinion. You know, I don't want this to be about my political viewpoints, this exercise. But I think all of us can say our leaders can do better at getting along without becoming political. But it's up to us to quiet things down, to reduce so much divisiveness and so much hatred. And what we want to get away from finally is no personal insults. And that's the ground rule of this exercise that I should have stated from the start, from the beginning, is that we want to learn how to argue our issues and voice oppositions without insulting anyone individually. And on social media, it's just it's horrific at the bullying and harassment, particularly of young people that I see. And there's just no excuse for it. We can become a more civil and polite society and still have heated political debate. I hope you enjoy the debates. I do provide I provide here, my email is encent21@yahoo.com. I'm open to questions or any suggestions, and I hope you and your groups enjoy this exercise. Be well, and thank you very much for your time.